everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And now that we have Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, it's time to rank this franchise. Now, before we get into it, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Also, shameless plug for my TeePublic page. I'll leave a link in the description box below. I also have a Zazzle page. There's a lot more products on that page. I will leave a link to that page down below as well. And let's rank this franchise. It started off way back in the 80s. So there's 4 films. At number 4, this is probably going to be obvious to a lot of folks, but Beverly Hills Cop 3. Beverly Hills Cop 3 was a very troubled production. By this point, there hadn't been a Beverly Hills Cop since Part 2 in the 80s. It had been a long time. Eddie Murphy was coming back to the franchise. They were having a hard time finding a director. They hired John Landis, who Eddie Murphy had worked with before on Trading Places and Coming to America, both really great comedy films. But John Landis wasn't known as an action director either. John Landis came in. I've seen a couple interviews with John Landis speak about Beverly Hills Cop 3, and he said the script was shit. But he thought with Eddie, they could make it funny. And Landis has said in the same interviews I've seen that he would set up Eddie for a joke or for some shtick, and Eddie would step around it. And Eddie didn't want to be funny. He wanted to be serious. And he told Landis that Axel's a man now, and he wouldn't do that. But I also don't like how Billy Rosewood's character is in this film. I like Judge Reinhold as an actor. I've always loved him in this role, but this is my least favorite interpretation of that character. Everything just seems a little too goofy in this film. Even though they're trying to go for a serious tone, I think the tones are all over the place. And you can see the setups for, if you really pay attention, for Murphy to be funny. And he's kind of not. He's the straight man in this film. It's severely missing Taggart. They brought a different actor in to play that kind of Taggart role. Ellis DeWalt as a bad guy is a pretty good bad guy, actually. It's probably one of the better ones in this franchise. And I love the setting of Wonderworld, this theme park where something nefarious is going on. But unfortunately, the whole movie just feels off. I don't think it's this big piece of crap that a lot of folks think. I think there's some fun things in there. And, but all the action feels flat. It's not funny enough for Beverly Hills, especially considering what we got in the first 2 films. And the style's a bit flat. You could tell John Landis is not an action director. He would never claim to be. I think he's a solid director, but for this kind of material, especially coming off of Tony Scott in the second one, the style here is just not there like it was with Part 2. So this was a big step down. I just rewatched this one. It's okay. There's some fun things in there again. I like the setting. I think Ellis DeWalt is a pretty good bad guy. But at the end of the day, this is definitely the worst Beverly Hills Cop. So at number 4, Beverly Hills Cop 3. At number 3, the brand new one, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Now this is a big step up to 3. I think this is a much better film. It's definitely way funnier. The action's way better. This movie has more style. Mark Malloy definitely paying homage to Tony Scott. I mean, this looks like a Tony Scott, Jerry Bruckheimer production and Don Simpson production back in the 80s and early 90s. It looks like a movie that was made back then. So I really appreciate the style. The musical cues bringing back the song, a lot of the music from the original first two films. I appreciated that. And having Taggart back is a big deal. Obviously, Ronnie Cox didn't come back, but everybody else is pretty much back. Paul Reiser, Judge Reinhold. Serge is back and gets his scene. And I think it's an entertaining scene. Is it a perfect movie? No, but the action is definitely a step up, or a couple steps up from Part 3. I think the movie is definitely way funnier. And they had a really healthy budget for this film. I read it was $150 million. And you could tell Jerry Bruckheimer came back to this film. Because, again, Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer had left before they made Part 3. And you could tell they weren't around to shepherd that film. There was always a certain energy and a certain style to their films, and that movie severely lacked that. But you could tell Bruckheimer's back, and I love the movie opening with the Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer logo. And usually, back in the day, that meant you were about to have a really fun time at the movies. And this was a fun time on a Netflix movie. It's a shame they couldn't have made this to go theatrical. I don't know why Paramount didn't want to do it. I think, there's a world where this could have went theatrical, made some money. I don't think this. I like Kevin Bacon here too, but again, like I said in my review, the moment Axel and Kevin Bacon's characters on screen, you know Kevin Bacon's the bad guy. It's telegraphed that much. And so there's no surprise at the end when he ends up being the bad guy. He's good here, and, as the slime ball cop, but there's no surprise that he's the bad guy. But I do appreciate them doing the action for real. Most of it was for real. There's very little CGI that I noticed really in this film, and I always appreciate that. But at number 3, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. At number 2, now my top 2 can flip sometimes, but right now I just rewatched these films. This is where it's going to go. Beverly Hills Cop 2 is going to come in at number 2. I really like this film. I think it's a tremendous sequel. Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer brought in Tony Scott coming off of Top Gun to direct this film, and his style is all over this film. This is the most stylish film of the whole franchise by far. I mean, Marty Brest did a great job with the original, but this is definitely the most stylish film. I mean, the cinematography is beautiful. And you get that great bit with Gilbert Gottfried in there. Serge didn't come back, but you got Taggart and Billy and Axel back together again. And Bogomil getting shot by Bridget Nielsen's character is what throws us into Axel coming back from Detroit. And you got Paul Reiser back and all that. So, they got a lot of the same elements back. I mean, in the beginning of the film, we're introduced to Eddie Murphy's undercover once again, trying to get this credit card fraud. So we're back at it. But everything in this movie is a step up from the first film. I think it's, there's more action. Obviously, it's a Tony Scott film. So the action, it's always going to be whenever he stepped in the past when he was alive, the action would get jacked up a little bit if Tony Scott directed the film, and it's no different here. And I really like this film. I always felt like it was a great sequel. I used to watch this a lot when I was a kid, and it still holds up incredibly well, especially on 4K. It looks beautiful. That Tony Scott style. I miss Tony Scott so much. Yeah, at number 2, Beverly Hills Cop Part 2. Number 1, pretty obvious. We only got one film left, but the original Marty Brest directed Beverly Hills Cop. Now, a lot of you fans out there know this film wasn't originally meant for Eddie Murphy. This was a Sylvester Stallone vehicle, so it was kind of the same script, but much more serious. There wasn't the comedy in it, although a lot of the comedy in this film was improvised on set between John Ashton, Judge Reinhold, and Eddie Murphy. But, Sylvester Stallone was originally supposed to be doing this film, and his film, when he was done rewriting the script, it was more action. It was going to be a more bigger budgeted film, and Paramount did not want to spend a whole lot of money on this film. They didn't think it was going to be a huge hit, or they didn't want to take the gamble on it, I guess would be the more politically correct thing to say. So they brought Eddie Murphy in. Eddie Murphy was hot coming off of Trading Places and 48 Hours. So they thought, Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Simpson thought there was something there. And they actually, Judge Reinhold was the first one cast for this. Judge Reinhold met with Stallone. He's been doing interview rounds for Beverly Hills Axel F. And he even said, he goes, I was already on the project. I met with Stallone when he was still going to do it. And I was around when he left. And I was there when they brought John Ashton in and Eddie Murphy in. And this is this great buddy comedy cop movie. And this kind of, you could say 48 Hours kicked it off with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, but this one really kicked into overdrive because after this we started getting the Beverly Hills Cop, or the Lethal Weapon movies came out a couple years after Beverly Hills Cop. And this was kind of the template. This is a fish out of water story as well, but this is the template that went forward for buddy cop movies. Tango and Cash can owe a lot to Beverly Hills Cop. A lot of those films, The Last Boy Scout, which I love that film, another Tony Scott directed film, which is badass. It doesn't get enough credit with Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans. But yeah, the first one, the success of the first Beverly Hills Cop, from everything I've read and everything I've seen in interviews, is there was a lot of improvisation. All the funny stuff, the banana and tailpipe stuff, the Surge stuff, that was a day. He was there for a day, and that was all made up. This was really lightning in a bottle. You had a talented director in Marty Brest who would go on to do another great, it's not a buddy cop movie, but Two Guys Thrown Together in Midnight Run, which is a great film with Robert De Niro. So it was lightning in a bottle, and the movie was a huge success, which spawned a franchise that's still going on right now, 2024, and we just got a new movie. So at number 1, the original, right now, the best Beverly Hills Cop. So just to quick recap, number 4, Beverly Hills Cop 3, and number 3, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, number 2, Beverly Hills Cop 2, and at number 1, the original Beverly Hills Cop. What are your thoughts on my ranking? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Rank the films. If you've seen them all so far, rank how you would rank these movies down below. I'm interested to see how your rankings would be as well. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with some more reviews, but until next time, bye.